The Relic's Whisper, The Protector's Legacy. Chapter 1. The Arrival. It started like any other Monday. The town of Ashfall, Oregon, nestled between sprawling forests and misty mountains, was a quiet place, until the night the sky turned red. The news called it a meteor shower, a rare and breathtaking event that brought curious onlookers to their windows and porches. But when the streaking lights fell near the outskirts, nothing was ever the same. Emma Graves, a high school science teacher with a penchant for astronomy, stood on her porch, mesmerized by the fiery spectacle. She had spent years teaching her students about celestial events, but this was unlike anything she had ever seen. One of the meteors seemed different, brighter and larger, and it landed close enough to shake her house. Ranger, her loyal German shepherd, barked nervously as the ground trembled beneath them. Curiosity got the better of her, and against her better judgment, Emma decided she had to see it for herself. Armed with a flashlight and her sense of adventure, she ventured into the woods, Ranger trotting cautiously at her side. When she reached the crash site, what she saw left her breathless. A massive crater, glowing with an eerie blue light. At the center was a stone, unlike any rock she'd seen, pulsating and humming softly. She hesitated, but finally approached it, feeling a strange pull. Against all logic, Emma picked up the stone. It was warm, almost alive, and the moment her fingers touched its surface, she felt a jolt like static electricity race up her arm. The hum grew louder, and she thought she heard whispers, words she couldn't understand. Shaken, she tucked the stone into her bag and hurried home, not realizing she had just made a decision that would alter the fate of her life and her town forever. Chapter 2. The stone. Emma barely slept that night. The stone sat on her kitchen counter, casting a faint glow that filled the room with an otherworldly aura. She tried to convince herself it was just a rare mineral, something science could explain, but deep down she knew it was something more. The whispers returned in her dreams, filling her mind with strange symbols and flashes of alien landscapes. When morning came, Emma decided to keep the stone's discovery to herself. She told her students about the meteor shower, leaving out the part about the glowing rock now sitting in her house. By the time she returned home that evening, the stone had changed. Cracks had appeared on its surface, and faint beams of light escaped through them. The hum had grown louder, almost melodic, and Emma couldn't shake the feeling that it was trying to communicate. That night, the stone opened. It didn't crack or shatter. It unfolded, revealing a swirling mass of light. At its core, Emma stared in awe as the light seemed to reach out to her, wrapping around her hand. Suddenly, she was overwhelmed by visions. She saw a dying world, its skies filled with ash and fire. She saw beings that seemed ancient and advanced, their faces both beautiful and terrifying, and she saw Earth, her own town, in peril. When the vision ended, Emma was left trembling on her kitchen floor. The whispers were louder now, and for the first time she understood one word: protector. Chapter 3. The First Signs. Over the next few days, strange things began happening in Ashfall. Power outages swept through the town, disrupting daily life and leaving residents frustrated. Wildlife began behaving erratically. Deer wandered into the streets in broad daylight. Birds circled in chaotic patterns, and Ranger growled at shadows that Emma couldn't see. Emma's dreams became more vivid, filled with symbols and warnings she couldn't decipher. She started seeing those same symbols etched into surfaces around town, on street signs, on the walls of the school, even on her own skin when she woke up one morning. At first, she thought she was imagining it, but the markings were real, glowing, faintly before fading away. Then came the first disappearance. Jared, the town mechanic, failed to show up for work. His wife reported him missing, but the police found no trace of him. Within days, others followed. Entire families vanished, leaving behind meals on tables and lights still burning in their homes. Panic spread through Ashfall, and the townspeople began locking their doors at night, afraid of whatever was out there. Emma tried to focus on her teaching, but the weight of the stone's presence in her home was too much to ignore. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, and she felt an overwhelming sense of dread. Something was coming, and she wasn't sure she was ready to face it. Chapter 4. The Stranger. On the third night, Emma woke to find a figure standing in her living room. She froze, her heart pounding as she reached for the baseball bat she kept. By the door, the man, if he could be called that, looked human but not entirely. His eyes glowed faintly, and his movements were unnaturally smooth, almost mechanical. "You have the relic," he said, his voice low and metallic. "They will come for it." Emma demanded to know who he was and what he wanted, but before he could answer, he vanished, dissolving into the shadows as if he had never been there. Ranger barked wildly, his fur standing on end, and Emma knew she wasn't imagining things. The encounter left her shaken, but it also confirmed what she had suspected. The stone was no ordinary meteorite. It was something far more significant, and she had just become its unwilling guardian. Chapter 5. The Vanishing Town. Ashfall's transformation into a ghost town was swift and unnerving. By the end of the week, more than half the population had disappeared. The streets were eerily quiet, and the once vibrant town square was deserted. Emma began noticing figures in the woods, shadowy and fast, always just out of sight. She tried calling for help, but the phones were dead, and the roads leading out of town were blocked by fallen trees and strange, unexplainable barriers. Emma's isolation deepened as she realized she couldn't trust anyone. The few remaining townspeople eyed each other with suspicion, and even her closest friends seemed distant, as if they were hiding something. The whispers in her mind grew louder, almost guiding her, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Determined to find answers, Emma began keeping a journal of everything that was happening. She recorded the symbols, the visions, and the strange occurrences around town. But as the days passed, the entries became more frantic, filled with questions she couldn't answer. Who were the figures in the woods? What did the stone want from her? And why was she the one chosen to bear its burden? Chapter 6. The Message. Late one night, as Emma sat by the stone, trying to decipher its secrets, it emitted a sudden burst of light. She stumbled back, shielding her eyes, as holographic images filled the room. The projections showed a dying world, a planet consumed by war and destruction. She saw beings that resembled the stranger from her living room. Their eyes filled with desperation. One word echoed in her mind, clear and unmistakable: protector. The message was both a warning and a plea for help. The stone wasn't just an artifact, it was a beacon, and its activation had drawn the attention of forces far beyond her understanding. Emma realized she couldn't handle this alone. She needed help, someone who might believe her story and have the resources to uncover the truth. She turned to the only person she thought might help: Ryan, her ex-boyfriend, and a conspiracy theorist who had always been obsessed with the idea of extraterrestrial life. He lived in a cabin off the grid, far from the chaos-consuming Ashfall. With Ranger by her side, Emma packed the stone into a backpack and set off into the night, hoping Ryan would have the answers she so desperately needed. Chapter 7. Ryan's Revelation. Emma found Ryan's cabin deep in the woods, surrounded by makeshift surveillance equipment and antennae pointed at the sky. Ryan wasn't surprised to see her. "You felt it, didn't you?" he asked before she could explain. He ushered her inside, where the walls were covered with maps, diagrams, and newspaper clippings about strange phenomena across the country. Ryan explained that he had been tracking an uptick in unexplained events, disappearances, strange lights, and electromagnetic anomalies. Ashfall wasn't the first town to experience such things. He believed it was part of a larger pattern, and the stone Emma carried was at the center of it. "It's not just a rock," Ryan said. "It's a relic, a key to something ancient. And if you've activated it, they'll be coming for it." Emma shared everything she had experienced, from the visions to the glowing symbols. Ryan listened intently, his face growing more serious with every word. He told her about a secret group he had heard rumors about, an organization that called themselves the Shadow Order, dedicated to controlling relics like the stone. "If they find you, they'll take it, and they won't care what happens to you," Ryan warned. "We need to figure out what this thing is before it's too late." Chapter 8. The Hunters. Before they could begin their research, the cabin was attacked. Figures in sleek, alien-like armor surrounded the property, moving with inhuman speed and precision. Ryan grabbed a shotgun, but Emma knew it wouldn't be enough. The stone in her backpack began to hum, and she felt a surge of energy coursing through her. One of the attackers burst through the door, its eyes glowing with the same eerie light as the stranger who had visited her. Emma instinctively raised her hand, and a beam of light shot from her palm, knocking the intruder back. She stared at her hand in shock, but there was no time to process what had happened. Ryan led her through a hidden tunnel beneath the cabin, emerging into the forest a mile away. The attackers pursued them, but Emma's newfound abilities allowed her to fend them off, creating barriers of light and stunning their enemies long enough to escape. When they finally stopped to catch their breath, Ryan looked at her with a mix of fear and awe. "You're not just carrying the relic," he said. "It's changing you." Chapter 9. The Resistance. Ryan took Emma to an old abandoned bunker he had discovered years ago. Inside, they found a group of people who called themselves the Resistance. Led by a grizzled man named Colonel Briggs, the group had been preparing for an event like this for decades. They had weapons, technology, and knowledge about the relics, but they had never encountered anyone like Emma. Briggs explained that the relic Emma carried was one of many scattered across the world, each with its own unique power. Together, they formed a network that could either protect the planet or destroy it, depending on who controlled them. "You're a protector," Briggs said, "chosen by the relic to guard it, but that also makes you a target." The Resistance agreed to help Emma, but tensions ran high. Some members doubted her, fearing that her connection to the relic made her a liability. Others believed she was their only hope. Emma herself wasn't sure which side she agreed with. Chapter 10. The Vision. That night, Emma had another vision. This time, it was clearer than before. She saw a massive structure buried deep beneath the earth, a gate covered in the same glowing symbols that marked her skin. The whispers in her mind grew louder, forming words she could finally understand. The gate must be opened. When she woke, the symbols on her arms were glowing brightly, and the stone was pulsing in sync with her heartbeat. She shared her vision with Ryan and Briggs, who confirmed that they had heard legends of such a gate. It was said to be the source of the relic's power, but no one knew where it was or how to activate it. "If the gate exists, it's our only chance to stop them," Briggs said, "but finding it will be the hardest part." Chapter 11. The Hunt Begins. Determined to find the gate before their enemies, the Resistance divided into teams to scour every clue left in ancient texts, legends, and Emma's visions. Emma, Ryan, and Briggs took the lead, traveling to a library, hidden in the ruins of an old monastery that was rumored to have been built atop one of the Relic's ancient resting places. The journey wasn't easy. The hunters, relentless and adaptive, tracked their every move. Emma's connection to the Relic gave her brief flashes of insight, allowing the group to evade ambushes, but the constant danger began to wear them down. In the monastery, Emma uncovered an ancient map carved into the stone floor, its details glowing faintly under her touch. It marked the location of the gate deep within a mountain range known as the Crescent Peaks. As they copied the map, the hunters descended upon them, forcing them to fight their way out. Briggs sustained injuries during the escape, and the Resistance's numbers continued to dwindle. The gate was closer than ever, but the cost of finding it weighed heavily on Emma's conscience. Chapter 12. The Crescent Peaks. The journey to the Crescent Peaks took them through treacherous terrain, where the mountains seemed alive with their own defenses. Landslides, sudden storms, and strange glowing wildlife hampered their progress. The map from the monastery led them to a hidden valley where the air shimmered with unnatural energy. Emma's connection to the Relic grew stronger as they approached. She began to hear not just whispers, but entire sentences guiding her steps. The Resistance followed her lead, but the closer they came to the gate, the more Emma felt her own sense of self slipping away. She began to wonder if the Relic was truly an ally, or something far more dangerous. At the heart of the valley, they found an enormous stone door covered in intricate carvings that matched the symbols on Emma's skin. As she approached, the door began to open, revealing a massive underground chamber filled with ancient machinery and a pulsing energy field at its center. Chapter 13. Betrayal. Inside the gate's chamber, the Resistance began exploring, searching for answers about how to activate its full power. Emma's touch awakened the machinery, which roared to life, displaying a holographic map of Earth and marking locations where other relics had been hidden. But as they marveled at the discovery, one of their own turned against them. Mason, a longtime member of the Resistance, revealed that he had been working with the Shadow Order. He activated a hidden device that sent a signal to the hunters who swarmed the chamber. Chaos erupted as the Resistance fought to hold their ground. Mason tried to seize the Relic from Emma, claiming that the Shadow Order would use it to bring order to the world. But Emma's connection to the Relic allowed her to repel him with a surge of energy. The battle ended with heavy losses. Mason escaped with crucial data about the gate, and Briggs, mortally wounded, made Emma promise to see the mission through. His death marked a turning point for the group, solidifying Emma's resolve. Chapter 14. The Shadow Order. The Resistance regrouped and learned more about the Shadow Order. They were an ancient organization that had once protected the relics, but had grown corrupt, seeking to use their power to dominate the world. The Hunters were their enforcers, augmented with technology derived from the relics themselves. Emma's visions revealed that the Shadow Order planned to use the relics to awaken a force known as the Catalyst, a being of pure energy that could reshape the planet. The gate was the key to this process, and Emma realized that if they didn't stop the Shadow Order, the entire world would be enslaved or destroyed. Chapter 15. The Catalyst. Emma began having vivid dreams of the Catalyst. It was a massive, sentient entity bound within the Earth's core, created as both a weapon and a guardian by an ancient civilization. The relics were pieces of its power, scattered across the planet to prevent any one group from wielding it. Through the visions, Emma learned that activating the gate would awaken the Catalyst. But she also saw two possible futures, one where the catalyst restored balance to the planet, and another where it unleashed unimaginable destruction. The resistance debated their next move. Some believed they should destroy the gate, while others, including Emma, felt they needed to awaken the catalyst and trust her connection to the relic to guide its actions. The group was divided, and tensions reached a breaking point. Chapter 16. The Final Key. To activate the gate, they needed one final relic, hidden in the ruins of an ancient city submerged beneath a vast desert. The journey took them through scorching heat and dangerous sandstorms. Along the way, they encountered remnants of the Shadow Order, who were also searching for the relic. Emma's abilities continued to grow, allowing her to manipulate light and energy in ways she never imagined. But the power came at a cost. Her body and mind were beginning to show signs of strain. Ryan, ever loyal, tried to support her, but even he began to fear that the relic was consuming her. In the ruins, they found the relic guarded by ancient automated sentinels. The battle to claim it was fierce, but Emma's connection to the relics allowed her to deactivate the sentinels and retrieve the final piece. As they left the ruins, the Shadow Order ambushed them, and Emma was forced to unleash her full power, to save her friends, further binding herself to the relic. Chapter 17. The gate opens. With the final relic in hand, the group returned to the gate. Emma activated it, and the entire chamber transformed into a conduit of energy. The holographic map expanded, showing not just Earth, but distant stars and worlds connected to the relic's power. The gate itself became a portal, revealing a swirling vortex leading to the heart of the catalyst. But the activation also alerted the Shadow Order. As the Resistance prepared to make their move, the Hunters and their masters launched a full-scale assault. The final battle for the gate began. Chapter 18. The Battle for Ashfall. The battle raged both inside and outside the gate. The Resistance fought valiantly, using every weapon and strategy at their disposal. Emma, now fully bonded with the relic, became a force of nature, wielding energy and light to repel the Hunters. But the Shadow Order's leader, a figure known only as the Architect, confronted her directly. The Architect revealed that he, too, had bonded with a relic and had been working for centuries to awaken the catalyst. He believed humanity was doomed without its intervention, even if it meant sacrificing millions. Emma saw through his twisted logic and vowed to stop him, no matter the cost. Chapter 19. The Awakening. Emma entered the portal, leaving her friends behind to hold off the Shadow Order. Inside, she found herself in a surreal, otherworldly realm where time and space seemed to blur. At the center of it all was the catalyst, a being of pure light and energy, chained by massive constructs that pulsed with ancient power. The catalyst spoke to Emma, acknowledging her as the protector. It offered her a choice: release it to restore balance, knowing it might destroy her in the process, or seal the gate forever, leaving humanity to fend for itself. Emma chose to trust the catalyst. Using the relic's combined power, she shattered its chains and merged with its energy, becoming a bridge between the catalyst and humanity. The resulting explosion of light swept across the earth, disintegrating the Hunters and the Shadow Order while restoring life to the barren lands. Chapter 20. A New Dawn. Emma's sacrifice saved the world, but she was gone, her body consumed by the catalyst's energy. The Resistance emerged from the battle victorious, but changed. Ryan, now a leader among them, vowed to protect the relics and ensure they were never misused again. Ashfall began to rebuild, its people slowly returning and finding hope in the aftermath of the chaos. The relics, now dormant, were hidden away, their power waiting for the day they might be needed again. In the sky above, a faint shimmer of light could sometimes be seen, a reminder of Emma's sacrifice and the enduring legacy of the Protector. The world was safe, but the story of the relics was far from over.